Hellos everybody's. Today we're going to be talking about something that interests me very much. It may interest you, or it may bore you, but I guess that's just what history is, isn't it? Now today's topic comes from a very good friend of mine back in Australia. And here's what she said. That was hilarious. Do one on the Beatles. And since I'm wearing a Beatles shirt, and there are Beatles posters all over my room, and I just came back from a trip in Liverpool where I went on a Beatles tour and went to the Beatles Story Museum, I think I might do the Beatles today. And they are one of my favorite bands in the whole world. And yes, I know they may be from the 60s and 70s, but they're still awesome. So today I'm going to start off by introducing you to the Beatles as we know them today. There's John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr. Now I'm not going to talk about the childhood of each and every one of the Beatles, as that's a different story. But I can tell you that Ringo Starr was in a coma when he was just a little bubba. Yeah, it's a bit tragic. Now first of all, we have the band where it all began. The Quarrymen. Now the Quarrymen were originally called the Blackjacks. The Blackjacks band was started off by John Lennon in summer 1956. Firstly, he recruited one of his friends, Pete Shotton, to join the band. But he couldn't play any instrument, so he decided to play the washboard. Then Bill Smith joined the band to play the washtub bass, which is this. Yeah. And then other people joined the band and yeah, it became all cool and everything. And then later they decided to call it the Quarrymen. Probably because it was from the fact that they were at a high school called Quarrybank High School. Yeah, remember John Lennon? He's only 16 years old. And he was a badass! While the Quarrymen were still existing, they decided to go and compete in competitions. And tried for stuff like the Empire Theatre, for Carol Levis's TV star search. But that wasn't very successful. But the band went on, and on, and on, until a historic day in history. On Saturday, 6th of July, 1957, John Lennon met Paul McCartney. Where? At a church fete of all places. In this hall. Yes, that is me in front of it. I went there. I went to the place where John and Paul first met, but I didn't get to go inside the hall because it was closed. They played at St. Peter's Church. They were playing, you know, doing some grooves and shredding and stuff. And they were playing the song Come Go With Me when Paul McCartney arrived at the fete. And after the Quarrymen finished performing, Paul McCartney was introduced to John Lennon in the hall. Have you guys seen the movie Nowhere Boy about John Lennon's childhood? Well, it's actually pretty good and it was filmed on location where John Lennon and Paul McCartney met each other. I think. And Paul McCartney started showing off and played 20 Flight Rock, boom, boom, boom. And some songs from Little Richard, Tutti Frutti, oh Rudy, Tutti Frutti, and on the 20th of July, John invited Paul to join the Quarrymen. The Beatles members are now beginning to form up to create the Beatles. This is a good ice cream. Anyway, Paul McCartney started rehearsing songs with the Quarrymen, such as Bye Bye Love It, Bye Bye Happiness Bye. And then there was George Harrison. And this happened in 1958. Now stay with me here. The current members are John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison, and a guy named John Dufflow and Colin Hanton. Now before George Harrison actually joined the Quarrymen, he knew Paul McCartney from before, because they went to the same school together. Now although little Georgie boy was still young, Paul McCartney was telling George Harrison about his friend George who could play the guitar pretty well. But John met him and liked Harrison's guitar skill playing. And then when George Harrison was 16, he was considered part of the group. Boom! I'm suddenly somewhere completely different wearing completely different clothes. And it's a completely different day. Yeah, my mom just threw me out of my room because I have a guest staying in there now. In January 1960, Stu Sutcliffe joined the band on bass guitar. And even though he didn't know how to play it properly, he still played it. They decided to change their name from the Quarrymen to something else. And they went through names such as the Beatles, the Beatles, Johnny and the Moondogs, Long John and the Beatles, the Silver Beatles, and then finally the Beatles in August. Now a whole bunch of stuff happened to make them famous, and they went to Hamburg, And then they did all these cool things. And then eventually they got their first single out, Love Me Do, in the year 1962. Which then became their only single to not get to #1. And this went to number 17. Oh yeah, before this Ringo Starr joined the band. Yeah, Ringo Starr joined. He joined in 1962 and he replaced Pete Best, who was their former drummer. And Pete Best and his family were so, why the hell did you kick me out? Because Pete Best's mum had done so much stuff for him. She opened a friggin' club for them. She opened the Casbah Club. And you know, Pete Best was so, what the heck, what did you do that for, man? He tried to friggin' commit suicide, but then was saved by his brother Rory Best. And that's me with him right there, yeah, Rory. He's a really nice guy, by the way. I got his autograph. Anyway, the Beatles' first album, Please Please Me, was a pretty good success, and it has songs in it like, what are my favorites? A Taste of Honey, Do You Want to Know a Secret, Please Please Me itself, and what's another one? And Baby, It's You! And then they kept releasing more albums like With the Beatles, and then A Hard Day's Night, which they actually made a film out of. And it was pretty good. And then they went on to make Help, the film and the album. The album's really good, but the movie sucks! And then in 1968 they released the White Album. And songs that I like on that one are Helter Skelter, I don't really like Do You Wanna Do It in the Road? No, I don't like that one. But yeah, I like Helter Skelter, I like I'm So Tired, and I like Piggies. Piggies! And through all this they had like girls screaming at them like, I love you so much! And the Beatles are like, yeah, just another day at the office. Until eventually they released their last album, Let It Be, before they broke up. Now, although two of the Beatles are dead, John Lennon and George Harrison, who died of lung cancer, the Beatles are still one of the most commercially successful bands and the most critically acclaimed band in the history of rock music. And they're awesome! So don't diss them, or else I won't do anything. So before I sign out today, I'm gonna leave you some videos and pictures from when I went on the Beatles tour in Liverpool last month. Bye-byes, everybody's.